Hello everybody, welcome back to the Strategy Talks and Mechanics Guide series. In this episode, we're going over one of the most talked about sub-skills in the game, Berry Finding S, and particularly on skills and ingredient specialists. Now, this is a very interesting topic, and it was kind of inspired by Sceptile. Now, I've discussed Sceptile quite extensively. I'm not going to go into that again in this video too much, but you can see that Sceptile, despite being a skill specialist, performs better with Berry Finding S than with Skill Trigger Focus. So, why is this the case? Well, Berry Finding S is a weird subskill. It just adds one berry to every single help. This paradoxically means that non-berry specialists actually benefit from it most percentage-wise, because berry finders already find 2 berries. Adding 1 additional berry increases their productivity by 50%. A skill specialist or an ingredient specialist produce 1 berry. Adding an extra berry to that makes them produce 2. That's increasing it by 100%. Those are much more significant percentage increase to their productivity, but a lot of them don't produce a lot of berries at a base rate. They might have a higher ingredient rate because they're an ingredient finder, like Golem, who just produces as many ingredients as possible and doesn't really care about the berries. Or they might be like Sceptile, the one that inspired this video, who has a really fast rate and a really high value berry, and a stupidly bonkers low ingredient rate of only 10.7%. So that might lead to them producing more berries. So how can we know if a Pokemon's going to be very good as a pseudo berry specialist? And to determine this, I actually created a new index in a spreadsheet. Now, creating a spreadsheet is kind of the thing here on the channel. It's kind of become the pseudo catchphrase of the channel. But I wanted to kind of create a numerical value for how much a Pokemon benefits from Berry Finding S. And in order to understand how I reached this index, I need to first explain, and so that you can understand how this index actually is calculated and the significance of this index, I need to explain what all the steps mean. So this is calculated off of just 3 different numbers. The first number is their frequency, how often they help. The second is the value of their berry. Every berry in the game has a different base value depending upon its typing. And then the Pokemon's ingredient rate. Now, ingredient rate matters for skills and ingredient specialists that are looking to benefit from Berry Finding S, since ideally they are not letting them sneaky snack. On a berry specialist, you can let them sneaky snack, so you can rely more on the sneaky snacking index, which is the index that how much they benefit from it under sneaky snacking conditions. But ideally, they're still ingredients and skill specialists first and foremost. You're not letting them sneaky snack if you're playing optimally. So that's why the ingredient rate comes into play as well. So how did I actually get this index? Well, first we just take 86,400 seconds and divide by their base frequency to get how much that species would produce helps in a day if you leave them at 0 energy and have 0 subskills, level 1. That's basically what the base frequency for that species means. And in this case, all the Pokemon have... Now, percentage-wise, these are all going to come out the same. If you give them Help Speed M, this number is going to increase by the same percentage for every Pokemon. If you give them levels, same percentage. It's not going to impact that. So, it isn't going to make a difference. You could run these same numbers. The only difference is the numbers are going to get bigger if you make them faster. But I then also divided... I multiplied how often they'd help in a day by their base value of berry to get their adjusted, and then divide by 100 to make it a nicer number, to get these numbers. Now, then I took the ingredient rate and multiplied by 1 minus that number, because 1 minus that number would be the berry rate, the opposite of the ingredient rate, to then see how often, when they're helping, do they find berries, times how often they're helping. And that's where we get this default index. Now, this default index is very helpful for just seeing initially how much a Pokemon's going to benefit from Berry Finding S. But I also wanted to adjust for specialty, because ideally on an ingredient specialist, you would be having at least ingredient finding M. So that'd be a 36% increase to ingredient rate. So We'll multiply that by 1.36 on all ingredient specialists, but not on skill specialists, and then use that for the final index, where we actually get a score of how good a Pokemon does with Berry Finding S. And after we sort this, we can see just why Sceptile is so insane with Berry Finding S, because compared to other Pokemon, it is the only one to exceed 9. And not only is it the only one to exceed 9 on this index, but is the only one to exceed 10. It benefits so much from Berry Finding S that it's basically a must-have. I've made the comparisons before, but you can really just see that as the case. Now, I looked through this, and I think that there's really nice cutoffs at every single integer number, which I was not expecting that to be the case, but I think genuinely, here's how I would rate them. After we make the full adjusted one, if they have 8 or more, it's amazing, an amazing subskill on the Pokemon. You should ideally be hunting for Berry Finding S on these Pokemon, but there may be trade-offs in doing so that you can consider a reason not to. But no, most notably in Raikou. Raikou is a very, very rare Pokemon. It's a legendary, very expensive. You can settle for just a very skill-focused one without Berry Finding S. It benefits a lot from it, but it doesn't need it. Plusle, don't really know much about yet. It may be very good with Berry Finding S. I don't really know. No one's really running a Plusle. There's no really experimental data out about that, but if you're using Plusle, let me know your thoughts. Is it worth hunting for Berry Finding S or bust on it? I personally lean towards no, because it's more looking for certain ingredients. You want to get it on the team, off the team, get that coffee. But it's a very weird Pokemon. I don't know how to rate it. But it's also 10 pips, so once again, the rarity thing that Raikou encounters on Plusle. Rarity is a problem as well. Gardevoir is a healer. Now, I think on the healer specifically, Berry Finding S isn't the best because healing is so strong, the most powerful thing in the game. And realistically, your healer also probably wants Helping Bonus. To force yourself to find one that has Berry Finding S and Helping Bonus and skill triggers. If you get it, good for you. That's awesome. But ideally, you're not hunting for that. You're not going to say, I'm going to only invest if it has all of this. That's going to be so ridiculously rare. It's better to settle for just the triggers over the Berry Finding S. But the other ones that are all up here share a commonality in that not only do they rank very highly on this index, but also they're all, interestingly, the extra helpful Pokemon and Sceptile. Now, Sceptile we've already discussed, but Jolteon, Gallade, and Arcanine. These three are the extra helpful Pokemon, and not only do they benefit from Berry Finding S because they have this interestingly high index score, but also the skill itself is stronger when they have Berry Finding S because they always have a chance to proc on themselves. And if they proc on themselves, then the skill is weaker than if it procs on something else, but it's stronger if they themselves have Berry Finding S since it forces a flat number of helps. So I definitely, more so than before, I now have reached the conclusion that Arcanine, Gallade, and Jolteon not worth consideration if they don't have Berry Finding S. They need Berry Finding S because it is just that useful on them, and they all rank amongst the highest in the game in terms of how much they benefit from Berry Finding S amongst all non-berry specialists. Now, if we go beneath that, 7 on down, this index, I think 7 to 7.99, all of these Pokemon, benefit from it greatly. It is worth taking a Pokemon that is worse at its specialty to have Berry Finding S because they benefit from it that much. These guys, I'd say, unless it's a very special circumstance, it's a must-have. These guys, you can justify not having it, but having it is a very valued boon. Very valued thing. Now, here's where we see the 3 ingredient specialists that get talked about with Berry Finding S quite a bit. Gengar, Meowscarada, and Dragonite. These 3 are very good with Berry Finding S because of either high base value berry in Dragonite's case, high frequency in Gengar's case, and a little bit of both in the case of Meowscarada. But those are the only 3 ingredient specialists that land in this range, but I definitely think it's worthwhile considering or taking them if they have Berry Finding S. and sacrificing in the specialty for most of these. Now, once again, there are exceptions. Pawmot and Sylveon both land in this range. Those are both healers. And Cresselia as well as a legendary. Once again, Entei. You settle with what you get with legendaries. But as far as a lot of the other ones go, now here's where we see Mimikyu and Braviary, the other Berry Burst Pokemon. Now, part of what inspired this video was discussing these two Pokemon specifically. I made a few comparisons of Braviary and Mimikyu to Sceptile, or to itself. Now, they do definitely benefit from Berry Finding S more than skill triggers, interestingly, because that was the question that kind of inspired this. But it's not as significant as the difference as in Sceptile. And I think that in their cases, it's much more justifiable to invest in one that is more skill-focused. But they benefit so much from Berry Finding S that it's certainly a strong consideration. And many players probably would rather have one that just has Berry Finding S to guaranteed berry productivity is better than RNG berry productivity, which is ultimately what the skill triggers would be. And I'd say if it's in this range, then very good with it, but it's not a must-have. Now, 6 is where I kind of start to say it's good. It's a very nice boon, but it's really... there are trade-offs, and a stronger one at its specialty is probably going to be stronger than one with Berry Finding S, especially, once again, there's context as well. Sableye's in this range. You don't care about Berry Finding S at all on a Sableye, since Sableye is a skill specialist looking for Dream Shard Magnet. It's not trying to contribute strength. You don't need strength on that. But all these ones, I'd say, just kind of like, it's good. It really wouldn't be worth sacrificing much in your specialty to have Berry Finding S on these Pokemon. But if it's there, it's definitely an added benefit, and you may consider it as like a nice little bump up for them, and you can sacrifice a little bit in the specialty for them. And once again, if they're near the borderline, like there's Comfey and Flareon, I don't really know. I'm never really comparing Berry Finding S Flareon to Berry Finding S Comfey, but apparently Comfey benefits of almost the same as like a Flareon does in terms of how much Berry Finding S benefits it. But if it's below 6, down here I'd say all these guys, it's more neutral for. Just kind of ignore it. If they're especially susceptible to inventory problems, such as like Ditto, because it's only a single stage Pokemon, then I'd say it's probably bad because it's harming that inventory. But it's not so bad that I'd say you should avoid it at all costs. I really just consider it more neutral. If you see it, it's there. Maybe it's kind of nice if you get that favored berry, but realistically, it's not bringing in so much value that it's going to outweigh the negatives of the inventory impact on any of these Pokemon, unless you happen to have favored berry that week. And if they ever release a Pokemon that on this index scores lower than 5.5, I'd say it's actually just bad, because I'm ranking all just skills specialists here, or skills and ingredient specialists who do care about their inventory. And if it's below 5, then I think ultimately that specific Pokemon would be way more harmed by the inventory impact on whatever it is than it would benefit from the benefits of Berry Finding S, because at that point, you're really not getting anything out of it. Now, interestingly enough, before doing the ingredient specialty adjustment, the worst Pokemon to have Berry Finding S in this game is Wobbuffet. So, let's see. If we compare how much a Sceptile goes up in strength to a Wobbuffet, I'm just interested to see this now, because I haven't actually made this comparison before. Wobbuffet at level 65 with Berry Finding S compared to without Berry Finding S. Well, that doesn't bode very well for it. I just noticed it's 15k. Ugh. So it's gaining an extra 6,000 strength a day. Versus if we bring in Sceptile, who's the Pokemon on the opposite end of the spectrum of how much it benefits from Berry Fighting S. Sceptile, level 65 with Berry Fighting S in Rainon. Makes... Sorry, this part's a little bit slow. I should have had this prep beforehand, but I didn't think about it until I was recording. 39k strength versus without it, it makes... It would make 27,000 strength. So Sceptile is gaining roughly 12,000 strength per day versus 6,000 strength per day on the Wobbuffet, which does kind of add up. 5 versus 10. So that actually is a really great comparison to show that it gains about double the value from Berry Fighting S than what Wobbuffet would gain. Roughly. And that's kind of what this index is quantifying, is what is the amount that it gains per day by having Berry Fighting S in a flat numerical amount. And Sceptile is the king of having Berry Fighting S and benefiting a ton from it. And then down here, Ditto doesn't really benefit from it much at all when you're looking for its preferred subskills. And Wobbuffet and Sudowoodo, these two really do not need it. And if anything were to dip below this 4.99, it's just not worth having Berry Fighting S. And I would actually see it as counteracting other subskills. Maybe not too much, but I'd see it as detrimental. Kind of how we see ingredient finding on Berry Specialists as, like, it's detrimental, but not so detrimental that it's worth working around. I would see it in the same light on those Pokemon. And honestly, you could make the same case for it on... these guys as well. Some of these guys as well. The ones that are way down here are like 5.5, maybe even. Vika. That's kind of funny for me. I've got a Berry Fighting S Vikavolt, and it's way down here. But anyway, I hope that's been a good enough evaluation of Berry Fighting S. If you have enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. I make a ton of deep dives like this. I make a lot of spreadsheets, so that's the channel pitch. Huge thank you to all my channel members. It really means a lot to me that you guys want to show your support financially, despite there being no paid rewards for members. If you too want to become a channel member, the join button is down below. And as always, I thank you all for watching and hope that you all have a wonderful day. Bye-bye now.